Hi everybody. I just wanted to come on here because I told myself I was going to document my whole process of looking for and purchasing my first property. And I will say, like, I didn't entirely know what I wanted when I started this process, as far as like, should I get a rundown fixer-upper type of house, or should I go for like a vacant lot and like build what I want on the lot? And so eventually I just kind of chose to like go the empty lot or vacant lot route, and that happened how it was supposed to happen. And I say that because the lot that I found, or that just appeared, was in a location that I would kick myself if I like didn't go for it. So I currently live in Michigan. I just moved back from living in Chicago for about 6 or 7 years or so. So I moved back because basically, to put it short, it's more affordable here, and I am kind of shifting my mindset of like, how can I create luxury or orchestrate luxury in my life? And the homes that I would want in Chicago are like $500,000 plus. And so I'm like, okay, for me right now, like, that's unrealistic. So what can I do to kind of I don't know, have access to the things that I want? And so I decided to start here in Michigan first. And yeah, so going back to the plot of land, it's right by Lake Michigan. It's literally a 30-second drive from Lake Michigan. And again, this is in Muskegon, Michigan. So when people think of Michigan, I feel like they think of like Detroit, Lansing, like the major cities. But Muskegon is a really beautiful small town, like right on Lake Michigan. And it's kind of known for its like white sand beaches. And I love the beach. So I knew that if I'm going to buy something, I want it to be in an environment that I like absolutely love and adore, which is the beach. Me and my friends, we spend like all day at the beach, bringing picnics, like all of that. I love it. So I am super, super happy that I put in an offer and I got the land that I wanted. But I just want to back up and kind of state some things that I did and kind of put it out there in case you are similar to me, in a similar situation as me. And I just kind of want to give a little bit about myself so you have something to compare to in a helpful way. So I am a therapist. I went to school for art therapy. And basically, somebody calling me. Basically, I had quit my job like about 6 months ago, and I didn't have a backup plan. And I'm like, all right, I'm feeling burnt out from being a therapist. What can I do? What can I do? And I made a video on that, so you can watch my last video, I believe. But basically, I say that to say you can Google like a typical therapist salary. Like, that's what I make. Like, not on the high range, probably on the low range. But I will say, in order to start this process, what I did is I made sure that I had a emergency savings, or just a savings. And I have this type of savings account where you can add to it, but like, you can't just go on the app and transfer money from your savings to your checkings. You have to go inside the bank, and it's super inconvenient. And I did that because I was committed to saving the amount of money. So I'll just put it out there so you have a real reference. Like, I saved $10,000 in a matter of, I'll just say, I want to say a year and a half, but I'll say 2 years, just for like leeway, because there were some paychecks that I did not contribute to my savings account. And so, and that, y'all, when I say that was extreme saving, like there were some nights that like I had, you know, a frozen pizza, which there's nothing wrong with a frozen pizza, but like when you've had a frozen pizza for multiple nights, like you'd be like, oh my goodness, I'm over this. But like, I just want y'all to get a gist of like, that's the type of extreme that I'm talking about. Of, oh, my checking account has $70, $50, like $20, like that type of thing. Like, oh, I can't go. And again, this was extreme. Like, I wouldn't suggest that if you have like responsibilities that are a bit more unpredictable than myself. So I, for the most part, single woman, no kids, no pets, rent super low, because I was living in Chicago when I started this process, and me and my boyfriend, we were splitting the rent. So my portion was like $500, and that was super good for Chicago. Mind you, I did not like my apartment. It was like I would never take a bath in that bathtub, that type of thing. So I just want to put it out there that sacrifices were made on my end to save that $10,000. And granted, like to some people, $10,000, that's nothing. Like, okay, for the career choice that I'm in, and I won't even say choice, the career path that I ended up on, for the amount of time and like the sacrifices that had to be made, like that was a huge thing for me, and I was proud of that. And I will say I did have help from like one of my uncles. Like he would send me money every month type of thing, and I would just put that away, like just put it towards my savings. So yeah, going back, I got $10,000 saved, and I would say make sure you have a solid amount, you know, like depending on the property. I didn't know at the time what property I wanted, but I would say at least, you know, have an emergency fund. Like if something goes wrong, it's always good to have an emergency fund. And they say like, oh, it should be 6 months worth of all of your living expenses. Well, that's expensive. I would just say get at least a couple $1,000. Like even if you had like $3,000, $4,000, like I think that's nice to have extra money that you can kind of dip into when you need to. It doesn't have to be this massive amount. So yeah, you know my career choice. You know how much I actually saved before moving forward with the process. And you should know like what type of property you're going for. So ultimately, I went for a land loan. And I say this because you want to be approved with the bank of your choice before you kind of start looking around, because they'll tell you like, oh, this is what we're willing to give you for your home, or your property, or whatever it is, your duplex, whatever you go for. And like, let's be honest, I saw a video on Instagram where a black realtor, she was like, I'm not about to waste my time on people who are not approved for a home loan.
Buyers be like, I'm not pre-approved, but can I still see a couple of houses first? Do I look crazy? Oh, so you're telling me I got time to waste? Like I could just drive you around town and see a bunch of houses with no guarantee that you're gonna buy something. Have you seen gas prices?
So if you're serious about buying something, I would say get approved. Now, what I will note is like you should know what it is that you want to be approved for. So initially I went for a conventional like home loan type of thing, and it was for a residential property. But then I end up seeing this empty vacant lot, and I didn't know that that's a different type of loan. So I eventually went with a land loan, and they were trying to encourage me like, oh, you should just do construction loans so that way you can build on the land. But with a construction loan, you have to have all your ducks in a row, as far as you have to have already reached out to a contractor. You have to like have kind of like your designs in mind. So basically you need to be ready to move forward with the building process. And I was nowhere near that. So I'm like, well, I really need to secure this land because this is where I want my home. So I went land loan option. And everything just worked out. God is so good. I'll say that. Because I end up putting in an offer. The property was listed as $69,000, so basically $70,000, and it's a small lot. And I'm like, you know what? That's a lot for me. With a lot that has like trees on it, like work needs to be done. So I'm like, you know what? I talked to the realtor, and I'm like, can we offer like 60? Because I didn't want to go too low. Like, it's a lot that you don't know when you are new to this process. I'm like, I don't want them to like, I don't want to offend them if I offer too low. Like, what should I do? My realtor, she was okay. Like, that's another thing. After you get approved, or even before, have a realtor in mind that you want to work with. I wish I could have worked with a Black woman to support our people. And I didn't have anyone in mind. Mind you, I was living in Chicago and kind of doing this over the phone until I got in Michigan. So the bank actually ended up like giving me references to realtors here in Muskegon. So I went with that. And even, you know, people are gonna reach out to their connects. So if you have someone you want to work with, like, absolutely be in contact with them. But yeah, put in an offer for 60. They countered at 62.9. I'm like, bet. Anything less than 70, I was like, I'll do it. And with a land loan, you have to put 10% down. Yeah, you have to put 10% down. And so I had that with my savings. And what I want you to keep in mind too is closing costs. They can be, I don't know, mine was around like $2,000 or so. So I technically needed all $10,000 that I had saved up. But the blessing in all of this was like all of the costs wasn't due at the same time. So like I'm still getting paid. And that's a whole nother story. I got a job. I am a virtual therapist, so I work from home, and it's a bit more manageable than my previous therapy jobs. But I can also, like, if you're interested, talk about my experience in being 100% virtual therapist in a partial like hospitalization program or intensive outpatient. So yeah, if anyone's interested, I can talk more about that. But basically, I'm still getting paid each month. So like, yes, I'm spending money, my savings, but I'm also contributing back to it. So it's not like I don't have any savings left, which that's just a blessing during this whole pandemic. But yeah, put in the offer, they accepted. And what I want people to know is that like the closing portion of like buying property can take a while. So I want to say mine took about 2 to 3 months in total. I'll say a solid 2.5, because I did make sure you do your due diligence, because I did mine as far as, is this piece of land with no home on it, is it in a residential area? Am I even able to build a home on it? And then calling the city, like calling your township, whatever, to make sure, hey, this is the property number. Is there any information you can give me on this piece of land? Can sewage and water be sourced to this property? Calling the electric and the gas companies to make sure they can source energy to the land if you plan to build something on it. And that's my plan. And so doing all of that is important, because you don't want to get in a situation where you buy a property and you can't do what you want to do on it. And what else? I was going to say something else. A land survey. And again, this is more so for if you are going the land loan or construction loan route. You want to make sure you get a land survey where a professional goes out, measures your property, gives you specs on like, this is where it ends, you can put a fence here. They give you numbers in case your neighbors, you know, have something to say about you putting something up. And just for like your contractors when you get them to know what parameters they have to work with. And yeah, so that's important. And then once you get that, which I would say order that, you know, early on in the process, because it takes a while for the person to, you know, get out there, measure it, do what they need to do and get it back to you. And the bank, you know, also needs to order an appraisal. So how much is this land worth? Yeah, I don't know exactly why they do that, but like they just like to know like how much the property is worth in comparison to like other properties in the area. So they're going to compare it to vacant lots similar in size, in selling price, all of that, just so they can use that information. So that was done, and I don't know, I feel really pleased. Like this is a big decision, and I feel really pleased and confident in me purchasing this piece of property. I'm super excited. I work from home right now. I know that can change, but like if I got to work from home from this location and a home that I build, like I would just be so happy. I wouldn't want to leave my house. And you know, eventually my goal is to like be able to use this as like an Airbnb, or have family like all over. I want them to like have a home base in Muskegon where we're from, to just come and stay, and like this is our family home type of thing. And also too, like I wouldn't mind renting it out for a couple years to like help pay down the mortgage and then like move into it type of thing. So yeah, I'm open to making money and also just living an intentional life. So I want to shout out Jeremy. So he's a YouTuber here on YouTube, of course. And he and his wife like bought an A-frame home in Michigan for like $50,000 cash. And his channel is all about an intentional lifestyle. And so I encourage you to look him up. You can just like type in A-frame homes and I'm sure his video will pop up. And really inspire me to document this, because there was so much research that I had to do, and not knowing anything about purchasing land other than like Instagram and people telling you like buy property, invest. But you know, it takes even more work to figure out like what it is that I need to do in order to get started. And so I am super open to answering questions that you may have about purchasing land. I will say I have more, like I probably would be more useful or helpful when it comes to like land loans, because that's the route that I went. But yeah, I mean, I'm willing to talk with anyone about it. I'm trying to see. So I touched on make sure you have savings, know what you're going for, have a realtor in mind who you want to work with. And I will say, making sure you have good credit. Like I'm now like, I have good credit, okay? I don't know, I'm not like, that's not something I brag about, but like I have good credit. My mom like instilled fear, like don't get no credit cards. Like she would rip up the credit cards that come in the mail with my name on them when I was young. And like, you know, there needs to be a balance and a harmonious dance between that, because you do need credit. And like, I was one of those people, like, it was hard for me to establish credit because I had none. But once I did get my first credit card, I used it responsibly, I used it strategically. And yeah, you can watch videos on that. But I will say having good credit will help this process tremendously. Like, I got a $60,000 land loan pretty much, and my monthly payments are like $290 or something. And of course, that's over a 30-year period. Who's gonna wait that long? I'm gonna be paying towards my loan as if I'm paying rent. Like, I'm gonna basically do the snowball effect, and I've paid off multiple debts that way. So it's like the Dave Ramsey, you put all your money towards one. And so my goal is to have this paid off in, this is ambitious, but I'm gonna just put it out there, in like a year or so. Because I don't have to pay rent right now. I'm staying with my mom. And shout out to everybody who's been staying with their parents, like, strategically. Y'all are smart. And I would have so much money, or just like, y'all smart. Yeah, so I'm gonna be taking advantage of this time, and I will check back in with y'all. So if you have any questions, or just like have been through a land loan process before, please let me know. Your experiences, the good, the bad. I feel super proud of myself, and at the same time, like, I feel nervous, like, because some people will try to discourage you. Some people will, you know, try to instill fear in your heart about what you're doing. And I just really try not to interact with those thoughts, those comments, because they can manifest and fester. And ultimately, I know that God has already walked this path before me. So I have a home. I claim a home on this property. And yeah, so I just, you know, and I will say, like, even the realtor that I worked with would say, you know, it's really expensive to build right now. And like, she would just keep saying that to me every so often. And I'm like, you know, I know the pandemic has impacted contractors and like the materials, and it is expensive. But this is something that I'm doing. I'm actively doing this. So I don't, you know, just watch out for people who try to like plant seeds of fear into you. Yeah, and get a realtor that you absolutely admire their work and their professionalism and things like that. Yeah, I think that's everything that I quickly felt, you know, felt this video laid on my heart to do, because I would just keep putting it off. But I feel like, you know, I want people to feel like they can have someone to relate to, as far as like, oh, you know, I'm 27. This is my first big purchase. And as someone, as a millennial who does not like the idea of work, y'all. Like, if I could not work, I would not work. I don't dream about like, oh, my dream job. Like, I'm that type of person. So when it comes to committing to something like a loan, that kind of terrified me. Like, oh, I'm gonna have to make sure I have at least $290 to make this minimum payment, you know, which is cool. I got a job. I'm gonna pay for this. We're gonna get it done. So just feel free to follow along with this. Again, my goal is freedom. I want to wake up and feel free. I want to wake up and, you know, enjoy the space that I'm in. Renting was like, it was really hurting me, like knowing that I'm giving my money away to apartment complex that don't even respond to your needs. Like, oh, you need something fixed? Why is it taking them so long? Like, I'm not with that at all. So yeah, if you're anything like me, I just want you to be encouraged and go for what it is that you want. Life is short. And we got this. We got this. So yeah, I hope everybody have a great day. and feel free to ask me any questions.